Happy New Year to everyone. I'm wearing my Root shirt here. A lot of my clients know this Root swag that I'll wear. This is very exciting. Today is going to be another case study, and I've been doing a lot of these case studies because they seem to be resonating with all of you guys. Now, every single time I make this, I know it's not going to be exactly your situation. So if you're looking for a custom strategy, it's what we do. But I want you to know that this is hopefully going to be very close to your situation. This is exactly, why I'm recording this today is from a comment that was left on YouTube. I'm going to show you that comment in just a second, but want to make sure everyone's having a great first Friday of the new year, and we are going to start hopping in right now. If you don't already know, I'm Taublieb. I'm a certified financial planner. I'm the vice president here at Root, and I'm the host of the Early Retirement Podcast. And I love helping people retire early with total confidence, without that thing in the back of your head going, hey, is long-term care already not going to be okay? Or am I going to save too much, then be kicking myself later? I want you to have a really successful early retirement, and that's what this channel is all about. So if you're looking for more guidance on tax strategy, on investing, on income, on withdrawal, you're in the right place, and I invite you to subscribe. Now let's really hop in. So this comment comes from Delphine Owen 1921, who says, please do a case study is what she's referring to here. 5 million total, 4 million brokerage, and 1 traditional IRA for a divorced single. TY stands for thank you. And you're welcome, Delphine, and thank you for your comments in previous videos. I'm going to show you a very similar case study to exactly that. Let's do it. Now, if you just heard that comment, you might be going, wait a second, I don't have $4 million, $5 million. I've got $1 million, or I've got $500,000, or I've got $10 million. I do different case studies, and I'll put different ages in here and run scenarios so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So be sure to check out these videos, but at the very minimum, I think you're going to find this one entertaining. So let's really get to it. So here's a real case study, Delphine, and for all of you that are really watching this, going, yeah, this is applicable to my situation. Sometimes there are situations where I need you to think about a Roth conversion or some other financial topic that I talk about often, and the strategy needs to be used. Other times I don't want you using it. So today's going to be a little bit of here's when this makes a ton of sense, and here's where this doesn't make sense, making sure you're feeling confident about your retirement. So here's, once again, a real client of mine. I changed the name to preserve, their identity. But what you're seeing right here, they have a bank account with $50,000 right now. Their investments, it's not exactly what you just said there. They only have a brokerage account, Delphine, so no IRA, but they've got $3.5 million in a brokerage account. Now, this particular client, they sold a business, so it's not as if they'd been just accumulating a brokerage account. They've got a ton of gains in there. They sold a business, and this is what they walked away with after taxes. So $3.5 million, what they were walking away with. He owns his home, but he's got a mortgage on it, $450,000, and at 5% interest. So this is my client, and some ways it's fun to look at this on a blueprint just to go, okay, what is he working with? So this might be really similar to all of your guys' situation, it might be totally different. But the premise is right now, Tim is 57 years old, and he wants to retire. He wants to retire with total confidence. So the first thing I'll ask him, I'll say, when do you want to retire? How much do you want to spend? Pretend we went through that just in light of time here. But he told me he's thinking 62, 63, wants to spend $9,000 a month. Now, if you're hearing that going, hey, I don't know if 9,000 is right, or 10,000 or 11 or 12, in the description of this video, I have a free cash flow planner where you can go out and model expenses for an early retirement. If you're considering an early retirement, I encourage you strongly to do this because you're going to have health insurance costs that are going to be there, but they're not for forever. You're going to want to travel. You're going to want to do different things, and the timing of that is going to change. So I need you to think through it in a different way than a traditional budget. Now, right now, I'm going to this, and I'm just assuming, as I'm going through this, Social Security preferences, income, how much he's saving. I've made some really basic assumptions in here, but I want you to just know, I'll go in here for a client, and I'll say, we can assume $3,000 a month at full retirement age. This could be $3,500. It really depends. And so I don't want to get too much lost in the sauce, if you will, that analysis paralysis. But this particular client, what I wanted to do here is show you a little bit of insight as to this software. I can come over here and I can add in anything. Now, there's nothing magical about this software. There's many that I'll use. This is one I really like. And 6 months ago, my clients were using this, actually a year ago now. Time flies. But if you have a pension or an annuity, or you go, there's rental income or future inheritance or whatever it is, you can go in here and put this in here, and it's going to, of course, adjust the plan here. What I really want to show, there's a lot to this, but the really important thing is I want to show you what are you on track for? Meaning, if this is really close to your situation, you want to know, hey, am I in a good spot? And so right off the bat, I'll come into what's called this comparison section. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you guys can see this a little better. I promise I'm going to make it big enough that you can see what I'm talking about. I'm going to walk you through it. So here he is, Tim Sample. He's got 3.5 million bucks. You can see if I zoom in really close, it's going to say 3.55 because it's saying you've got 50,000 in cash. But sometimes what I like to do is I like to go into the plan and say, that's great, but that 50,000, I really don't want that included in my retirement because it's really not assets I'm going to use for that. I'm thinking about a home project, or I'm thinking about, I just want 50,000 to be on hand at all times. So we can always exclude that, but temperature check, this looks pretty good. Meaning if you're coming to me and, for example, you want to retire at age 63, I see, Tim, there's no reason you can't do this if you want to spend 9,000 a month. But most people look at this and go, wow, this looks pretty good. So 3.5 million bucks growing to maybe 6.5 million at age 90, but it's unrealistic. And here's why. $6.5 million will not be worth 6.5 million in the future. So we have to click this button right here that say today's dollars to go, okay, what's 6.5 million actually going to represent? The graph doesn't look as fun, but I'm what's known as the meanest early retirement advisor around. And I say it in a nice way because the truth is too many people retire early and they come to me and they retire early again. What does that mean? They retire early. They didn't spend what they wanted to spend. So they retired early and they end up going back to work. And I do not want that to be you. And I have clients that have done that who have $5+ million. So if you have 2 million or 3 million or 5 million, that doesn't tell me you're okay. What tells me you're okay is what your plan looks like. So what's happening here is Tim Sample's working. He's going to stop working. He's going to start withdrawing Social Security at full retirement age. But you can see he's spending $9,000 a month and he's okay. I mean, he's passing with $2.5 million. So one of the first questions for my clients, I'll ask them, I'll say, is that exciting to you? And they'll go, yeah, I've got 2 kids. I want to leave them XYZ. Now, in this case, they don't have children. So he's going, you know what? I probably don't want to die with $2.5 million. What if I instead spent, and I'll just do a hypothetical here, $11,000 a month, and I'll refresh this. And I've got some more fun scenarios for you guys. Yeah, there's fewer dollars. There's about $1 million fewer dollars, but he's still okay. So instead of passing with 2.4, it's 1.4 million. Still helpful to see, and I could do this all day, but what I'll look at is, that's one sample. How much can you spend? What's the most you can spend? Because there's 3 levels to a retirement. Level 1 is, am I in a good spot to retire? And Tim, if you want to stop at 63, he's in a good spot. Even if he stopped earlier, he's in a pretty good spot. But the truth is, maybe there's some other expenses here, health insurance, maybe there for a limited period of time. Maybe there's traveling. Maybe, and this is what really happened, he came to me and he said, Ari, I just want to know, can you quantify for me? I want to pay off my mortgage. Not because I know I could probably do better if I invested, but I just would want to know what's the trade-off on my retirement if I do so. So whether you have 5 million, 3 million, or 1 million, what we'll say is we'll, create this on the back end and say, what if you paid off your mortgage entirely? So you took $450,000 and you just went and paid it off. What's the opportunity cost of that decision? And so over time, sometimes I'll come out of future dollars, today dollars, I'll adjust this depending on what I'm explaining to a client. The reason I'm doing this, guys, is what's happening is 450,000 is coming right off the top. And now what's happening is we have a smaller portfolio, so it's not going to compound as much. But over time, we always want to ask ourselves, what's going to put more dollars in our pocket? So what you can see here is it's 500,000 fewer dollars, if you will, by paying off your mortgage early. But good luck quantifying that on your sleep. And hopefully what you can see here, if we're really saying, okay, what is like the time value of money? What am I really leaving on the table here over time? Yeah, it's about 200,000 fewer dollars, but you're in a great spot. So this is a situation where I would tell a client, I really like the idea of you paying off your mortgage. What do you think? Do you think you would sleep better, or are you just indifferent? That's one example. Another example, I had a client come to me and they were saying, hey, what if I paid off my mortgage and it was $800,000, not $450,000? I'd say, okay, we want to certainly factor that in. Now, for this specific client, it's not going to show the update because they only have a mortgage of $450,000. But I'll show them 800 or a million or whatever your mortgage is, and they'll go, wow, that's like a bigger difference than I thought. I just wanted to quantify it. So that's an example. That's the first one I wanted to show you. The second one, and this might not be applicable to you, but hopefully this is helpful. My clients say, what if I moved homes? And I said, what do you mean? What would that look like? They go, well, what if I sold where I currently am and I just took some basic assumptions? I'm going to move homes. I'm going to buy something for $1.5 million. I know I could finance it and we could talk about renting and moving and we can get really fun with this stuff. And we could say, we're going to convert it to we get fancy. But the premise is very simple if we can keep it simple, which I like to do. Say, what if you just bought a new property taxes, we could put it at 1%. We could put an annual tax increase of whatever we want. don't get too concerned. We could do a down payment if we want, instead of 100% down, put a 5%, 8% interest rate, paying off early or not. So don't get too lost in the sauce. But I'll show a client, I'll say, what if we did this? Meaning, let's assume you take a portion of your proceeds and you're going to go buy a property for 1.5 million. You sell your property, you walk away with the equity after commissions and whatnot. People want to know, what does it look like to their plan? So I'll refresh this and I'll say, what if you did this in 2025? Not forcing the client to do it, but I'm saying if they wanted to spend $9,000 a month every single month and they wanted to buy a property for $1.5 million, they're going to be okay, but they're cutting it really close there. Right about age 90, exactly, they're running out. So a client will go, okay, good to know. What if I invest differently? What if I use tax strategy, XYZ? I'll always do that first, but in light of time, I'll show a client, maybe you're buying a place, for $1 million, not $1.5 million. And the reason I'm doing that, I don't do this to my clients to depress them. I actually do it to do the opposite. I say, I want you to know how much of a home you could buy. You're thinking about buying land or developing a project. Yeah, there's millions of fewer dollars, but if you're looking at this going, wow, that would really enhance quality of life. I still have $3 million left over, which, by the way, we always want to know what's the equivalent of that 3 million. So you're still okay. You're passing with $1 million, and maybe you're in a home that you love a whole lot more. So that's one example. And then we'll say, what if you invest differently? So if we determine maybe you want 80% equities throughout retirement, which is just a hypothetical here, you refresh the plan. Well, now what's happening here is, yeah, there's fewer dollars, but you invested really well, assuming that works with your preferences, and you moved to a home that you think you'd really enjoy your life in more. To me, I'd rather you have less dollars at the end of the day if you'd be happier. So this is one example of retirement scenarios that I'll play around with my clients. And then I'll get really fun with it. And I'll go in here, and some of my clients, they're buying a car every 10 years or a vacation they want to plan for. Sometimes it's, hey, I can't really put a name on it, but maybe there's a home improvement or maybe there's health insurance. And so I'll go in here and I'll say, let's just assume I'm just going to pick 18,000 a year. That's probably on the high end if my client was spending 1,500 a month. The truth is, we're going to be smart with tax strategy. It's called subsidy planning. So should you try to keep your income low to qualify for a subsidy? Should we do Roth conversions? That's what we want to always weigh. But let's assume every single year from the time Tim retires, let's say he retired at 63. So let's say from 63 to 65, he's going to be spending $18,000 a year. He's not going to love doing it, okay, because none of you do. And let's turn off moving homes. Let's not complicate this. Let's go back to, what if you just got moderate growth throughout retirement, not paying off the mortgage early? Here's what you're going to see. What you're going to see is, yeah, there's fewer dollars, about 100,000 fewer dollars here, but you having to come out of pocket and pay for health insurance at $18,000 a year. Are you still okay? Yes, you're more than okay. So I'll tell my clients, I'll go, yeah, you're in a great spot. What if you traveled? What if you did XYZ? What if you, and this is charitable giving, moving properties, helping a child out with a wedding, you name it. So this is a prime example of a client coming to me, but hey, I get how this stuff works. I just want to optimize it. Now, I mentioned early on, I am the meanest early retirement advisor around, and I mean it. So here's why. This plan looks pretty good. Clients passing away at age 90 with $2.5 million. They're in a good spot. Most people, I'd say 99% of people, retire on this graph right here. But I don't let anyone retire on that graph. Not because I'm mean, but because you have to absolutely understand what is your withdrawal rate. So what this is saying is, this client, if they retired at 63, where's income going to come from? And what's going to happen is they're going to have health insurance, and they're going to have that $9,000 a month that has to come out. And remember, they need to live on $9,000 a month. So they need to live on $9,000 a month, but they can't forget they might have to pay capital gains taxes. They might pay ordinary income taxes, depending on when they sell a certain fund or a stock or you name it. So what this is saying is 6.7% is coming out of the portfolio, and that's not sustainable forever. That's too high. So I'll come back to my client and I'll say, hey, this for a few years, could you do 1 or 2 or 3 years in this range? You could, but what happens over time is it gets sustainable, and you can see he's actually in the 4 or 5% range. This is one of those conversations I want to have with a client. And I would say, before I just kind of release you, if you will, to retirement, even though this all looks pretty good and you're not going to run out of money, I'd say I need you to be open to shifting this when markets are performing differently. Because if markets perform poorly and I need to send you 6.7% 7% of your portfolio, there's no reason it might not be an 8% impact on your portfolio, and that's not sustainable. So some clients come to me and they go, it's just for a few years. I have health insurance expenses, then Social Security is going to help me out, and I'm going to be older. I'm not going to travel to the same degree. I'm not going to need to spend what I'm spending. And this is sustainable. 5% range, super sustainable if you're following the right set of guidelines and rules. It's just these first few years, I'd want to say, let's really be intentional and build this out. So this is an example of how I do this. One thing I want to be very careful of, and a lot of you are coming to me talking about Roth conversions, which can be great. Some of you want to talk about Roth conversions. Other of you, it doesn't make sense to. And so I'm going to give you an example right here. This client, it's all in a brokerage account. So there's no even Roth conversion that we'd want to look at. So this is one of those situations where I'd say, that's called head trash. I mean, don't even worry about Roth conversion videos. That doesn't apply to you if you're just sitting on cash or a brokerage account. Now, I will run a hypothetical for you just so you can see what I'm talking about, an investment account. And I'm going to add in, let's just call it an IRA, all different types of IRAs, but let's keep it simple. Let's assume there's 500,000 in there. Okay. So now I just gave Tim a fake $500,000. Congratulations. And what you're going to see here, when we go back to the tax plan, it's going to say, what's happening here, guys, is if I zoom in here, this is like a look at your tax picture over 30 years. And it looks overwhelming to start. When I first saw it, it overwhelmed me. But what's happening, these different lines, guys, these are tax brackets. So right off the bat, right now, it's pretty easy, meaning Tim is working. That's how he's creating income, and that's how he's living. But once he stops working, what's going to happen is income's going to have to come from somewhere, and he's already going to fill up these little brackets down here because he's going to be paying capital gains. But what's going to happen is Social Security is going to come on, and in the future, there's another big jump. And this jump, for those of you that know it, those are those required minimum distributions. So what you're seeing here is a client wondering, what should I do here? What if I do those Roth conversions? What if when I retire, I move some money from my IRA to my Roth IRA? Is it going to help me out? And right off the bat, you see, it actually doesn't help you out. And most people go, wait a second, I thought Roth conversions were good. They can be good. They can also be bad. And so what you can see here is if I choose to show a client, I want to fill up certain brackets, it can really help. So here's an example. I'm telling the client, when you retire early, I want you filling up the green here. And the green here, guys, this is the 22% bracket. So all I'm doing is I'm going along these lines of brackets. I'm saying, what if we filled it up? And then we'll go to the next level here. And I'll show a client, yeah, it can certainly help. It can add hundreds of thousands of dollars if you do it well. So I don't want to diminish the importance of a Roth conversion, but I want to be crystal clear. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to do it at all. And people go, well, wait a second, I thought Roth conversions were super helpful. Yeah, sometimes it can be. Sometimes it can add hundreds of thousands of dollars. Other times it doesn't make sense to do it at all, where it either adds no value and you're moving money, or it's actually hurting you by you actually having fewer dollars, meaning it would have been better off to do nothing at all than to do the Roth conversion. It wouldn't make sense to because of your tax situation. I have a whole separate video on Roth conversions, but this is what I want to go over. If you're looking at your situation going, hey, how do I be smart about this? There's capital gains brackets, there's Medicare premiums, there's all these key tax components of Social Security and what portion of it is taxable. What amount of those withdrawals are we going to be actually having to say, great, this is going to be tax deferred, that IRA. What's happening here is we're not going to pull from it, and then all of a sudden, you're going to need to pull from it, whether you want to or not, those required distributions. What about a pension? What about salary? What about other income? So just really understanding your tax picture is one of the things we're really big on. This is what I want to go through as a just quick case study. What I did not go into great detail over is, I put in here moderate growth. A lot of you are wondering, hey, what is moderate growth? As we're seeing it, when we're looking at a moderate portfolio, a 60-40, not a portfolio I recommend, it's about 7%. Now, the truth is 7%, can we guarantee that over time? No. So I don't want to rely on that, but that's what I'm using when I'm building out any of this for clients. And I'll show you, what if you had a portfolio we recommend? Maybe it's a 85% equities, and on average, you're going to look at 8.5%. Great, that's awesome. Other times, we're going to want to do the opposite. And so what if markets don't do well and you get kind of a balanced approach? You're looking at 6%, maybe 5%. So I show all of my clients this to be able to get their feedback, and that's what I want to show you guys today. So I hope that this was helpful. I've got a few last quick. Some of you are going to watch this video and go, I don't need $9,000 a month. Others of you are going to go, I would love $14,000 a month. So I've got some characters because my clients are awesome people and they know who they are. And some of my clients are from Malibu, where I'm from, And when I say characters, they know what I'm talking about. They want to spend 25, 30,000 a month. I say, that's great. I just don't want you to run out of money. And so the way we're going to plan for it is, here's the earliest time you no longer need to keep working. Or if you want to keep working, great. It's because you want to. But I don't want any of you wondering, am I going to have to go back to work? How much can I spend? Is my spouse going to be okay? Those are the types of conversations that I'm having with my clients. So hopefully this video was helpful. If you're interested in working with us here at Root, we take a team approach. We're called Root Financial Partners for a reason. We are a partnership with our clients. It's not simply we tell you what to do and you do it, or the other way around. It's we want to have a conversation so that we are absolutely reflecting what is most important to you. So if this video was helpful, please do give it a thumbs up. If you go, oh my gosh, this was overwhelming, I'm more confused than I was before, let me know what you want more content of in 2024 and I will make it. So thank you all for watching today's video, and I will see you next time.